Hi, welcome everybody. This is the Building Envelope Innovation Prize Secondary Glazing Systems office hours. We'll get started as soon as our participant count stops moving here. We're so happy to have you and welcome. All right, let's get started, make the best use of our time today. Welcome to the Building Envelope Innovation Prize office hours. We are going to take questions after a couple of slides and would be happy to have you come off mute and come on video during this time and ask your questions after we do a few announcements, introductions, and go over a little bit of information. So feel free to put anything in the chat as we go. On the next slide, we have presenter introductions. My name is Rachel Romero. I am at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado, and I am pleased to be joined today by Mark and Sam. Do you guys each want to give a brief introduction? Mark?
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark LaFrance, and I've been working in the Buildings Technologies program at DOE for over 30 years. I worked on a variety of policies and technologies, but I'm mostly known as the Windows guy. So we're really glad that we're able to do this overall secondary glazing system. Lots of really impactful things. So we look forward to hearing from you today. So thank you.
Great. Sam?
My name is Sam Petty. I am with our commercial buildings team, and I've been with the Department of Energy for about 8 years in total now, with the Building Technologies Office, and my primary focus is on tech validations and development there. So very excited to have everybody here today.
Great, thank you. A few housekeeping notes. There are two options for audio. It looks like everybody has been successful on that, but you can listen through your computer or by phone. To ask a question, you can select the Q&A at the bottom of the screen and type in your question. No matter what, questions may be answered live, but all questions will be answered in writing on HeroX. So do know that we will take those and add those to our FAQ on HeroX. If you're having trouble with the webinar, please chat the host for additional support. And audio recording of this webinar and the slide deck will be made available on HeroX shortly after the event. Our agenda today is we are going to do a brief background and overview. We will cover the phase 1 design concept. We'll talk about a few commonly received FAQs today and then take your questions and give a few answers on that. With that, I'll kick it over to Sam.
Thank you, Rachel. We can move on to the next slide. So just a little bit background on the prize here. We are going to award up to $2 million to encourage the production of high-performance, cost-effective secondary glazing systems to improve the efficiency of commercial building windows systems. Sorry, I have a dog here that is going crazy at the moment. It's a little distracting. My thoughts for the prize here is that we're targeting novel solutions to upgrade inefficient windows. We are looking to enable building decarbonization and optimize the building envelopes. We are looking to deploy cost-effective solutions, and competitors will be securing equity-focused pilots in low-income multifamily or underserved public sector buildings. Next slide. Prize goals. We want to produce high-performance secondary glazing systems for inefficient windows, improve equitable access to efficient retrofit technologies by reducing product and installation costs, and increase comfort and resilience for buildings. We are really focused with our technologies here to reduce the disruption and improve access to retrofit technologies. Next slide, thank you. Eligibility requirements. The prize is open to individuals, private entities, both for-profit and nonprofits, and non-federal government entities, states, counties, tribes, municipalities. We're also open to academic institutions, and everybody is subject to the following requirements. Individual prize competitor must be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, and that is a group, including a group of individuals competing as one team, may win, provided that the online account holder of the submission is a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Individual participants of a group may participate if they're legally authorized to work in the United States. Private entities must be incorporated in and maintain a primary place of business in the United States, and academic institutions must be based in the United States. Please refer to the official rules. There's a link in the slide deck, and it's on HeroX for the complete eligibility requirements. Next slide. The timeline for our prize, we are currently in phase 1. This is the design concept. We will have up to 5 semifinalists, $50,000 for each semifinalist team, and the phase 1 process is approximately 4 months long. Our due date for submissions is coming up here shortly in about 2 weeks now. We will go through a selections and review process and then announce our semifinalists, hopefully early fall. Phase 2 will be our prototype phase. It will go from the 5 semifinalists down to 3 finalists. Each of those 3 finalists will be able to receive up to $200,000 for each team, and that phase will be 6 months. Our third phase will be commercialization with up to 2 winners from those 3 finalists. First place will be $750,000, second place $400,000, and we will have a year to do the commercialization phase. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Mark to talk about our technology requirements.
Hello, hi folks. So we're basically looking for commercialized products. This has to be something that's going to be market viable, and we're looking for the thermal improvement to the product, as well as, if possible, dynamic solar control. And just to give, I just want to give people a context of how bad some of the commercial windows are in America. People hear about R values for attics and R values for different things. Well, a commercial building in America with aluminum or a metal frame and a single pane glass window has an R value of 0.8, not even an R1. Okay, so it's really, really bad. And so we basically trying to get, what is this value proposition that's going to make these our windows much more efficient and doing it economically viable. And so we have lots of details in the package that shows the performance specifications. The wind's blowing here, sorry, but you have to have a minimum performance to be eligible. And then, of course, we want to see the best possible performance. But just to give people perspective, it's not like the absolute highest performance at any cost. We're looking for high performance that's cost effective. That's the key thing. Okay. And of course, you get the official rules. Okay. So here, now, so these are the specs. As you can see, we have the static specs. It has to be a minimum requirement. And then we have a goal. There's nothing precluding you from doing better than the goal. You can even surpass the goal, right? But these are the criteria that we're looking for. And if you have dynamic solar control, and just so that people are aware, this entire effort is technology neutral. You can have whatever technology you come up with, but you have to meet these performance specs. So that means you could have an automated shading system in a variety of locations. You could have a dynamic glazing. It could be certain different types of dynamic glazing. So it's really technology neutral, and we really want to get these performance specs. Okay, and okay, one thing I should mention is for those of you, okay, basically these are signated glazings that go on top of what we call a base product. Now we know in the real world, many people have lots of different base products, but we're using the Attachment Energy Rating Council's baseline window D as the baseline window that we're going to be assessing your products to that baseline window, which is a generic baseline condition. Okay, next slide.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that.
Okay,
I'll go
thanks. All right.
Phase 1 design concept. So you need to provide a concept narrative and design for your secondary glazing system product. This will include cost and energy performance, and awards will be based on the energy and technical performance modeling, cost metrics, and your construction plans. Please note teams can only join during phase 1 and 2. So phase 1, excuse me, teams may only join during phase 1, at which point phase 2 and 3 will be down select processes from those 5 winners that will receive $50,000 cash prize. So your narrative design concept needs to include a cover page, list basic information about your submission in a 1-page PDF as detailed on this slide. This is a required document and will be loaded up to HeroX. Next, you will include a submission summary slide. This summary slide will be made public, and it is also submitted as a PDF, but this would be a public-facing summary of your project that contains your technical specific details and can be understood by most people. We do not provide a template for that. Next are your engineering drawings. These provide a visual representation of your prototype design. This could be a labeled photo or diagram or other visual representation that gives the dimensions and the major components of the team's design. We'd like to see frame details and how it will connect into with the frame that it will be integrated into. You must submit drawings in PDF, but you're also recommended to include therm and window files. This is optional, and there is additional information in the rules as well as the FAQs about these files. Please do not exceed 5 pages on that. The design concept narrative answers 4 questions and is not to exceed 5 pages. Tell us about your team, tell us about your concept and how it addresses the window retrofit needs that both Sam and Mark discussed previously. What are the unique technical specifications and what are the characteristics of the market that this product would fit into? This is also submitted via HeroX. Optionally, you may submit letters of commitment or support. These would be 1-page letters, and please do not submit multi-page letters, but upload 1 PDF for each letter. So you can include those as well. Phase 1 scoring, we score on a 0 to 6 scale. A panel of expert reviewers will read, score, and comment on each submission from that 0 to 6, and then they will provide input to the DOE Building Technologies Office. BTO is the final judge and will make final selections based on all of the information given, including the expert reviewer scores. To read the scoring rubric, you start with the overall question that gives the total points possible. Then there is the suggested content the competitor provides. So here we have a short description of each team member's qualifications and expertise. No, you don't have to have a fully committed team for this phase, but you can see information about that. And then on the right-hand side is a score will be provided on a scale of 0 to 6 per each judging criteria statement. All right. So you can see here on the design concept scoring criteria that engineering drawings are 18 points. The narrative is 138 points for a total of 156 points. The cover page, submission summary slide, and letter of commitment can still be submitted but are not scored. You will be asked to submit the legal name to receive payment in your HeroX submission. Please be prepared to submit this information with your submission. Please enter the full exact legal name of the individual entity you wish to receive the full award payment. This should match the name on your tax documentation. While this is not binding, any changes made to the payment recipient will delay payment as much as 3 months and require additional documentation for auditing purposes internal to NREL. And there is no fee to participate in the prize. With that, we're going to go over a few commonly received FAQs briefly, and then we'll jump into Q&A. Mark, can you cover these?
Okay, sorry, Rich. Okay. Okay, so are the minimum requirements in table 1, page 12, center of glass performance values or whole units? If whole units, how do we factor in the frame performance of the base windows, which is not known? Okay, so again, this goes back to you have to use the ARC baseline condition, right? So that's a generic baseline. We know in the real world, when you go to sell a project, that will vary, and there are ways to provide an actual performance for that building. But for comparison reasons, we want everybody working off the same baseline. Okay. And it says, are the therm models available for the windows shown in Appendix A? Yes, the therm models are available. Windows shown in Appendix A and for ARC window D. Okay, so I think we just said also that the therm models were optional, but these are just so that people, these are widely used in industry. We have large market uptake for all the therm and window models, and the ARC is relatively new for people. And if you're interested in doing a secondary glazing system, it has to be ARC rated. That's the only way we're going to be able to market these things. Okay, and then like what version of the models? Okay, this is getting down to the weeds for me. Okay, you see that this is the details submission here. You can see what they have for the latest versions. If there is any issue for complexity of the therm and windows model, you know, LB&L does provide extensive support. We've been doing these models for over 25 years, maybe it's close to 30 years. They're widely supported, and they're widely used, and basically in commerce, because, you know, testing and rating organizations are actually running a for-profit business using these tools, and they're used for design as well as rating. So anyway, we got those covered. Okay, these are more. Okay. Okay, should competitors build their secondary glazing system design based off of the ARC model D or the Appendix A window shown in the official rules document? Okay, so competitors should submit their phase 1 design, right, per the criteria in the rules. And the official rules require the ARC as the baseline, right? So, and for phase 2 prototype, LB&L will be testing competitors. Okay, so just so people know, when you do submit your prototype, you know, that will be tested thermally at LB&L, and then we will also be doing durability testing at NREL. Okay, and okay, we would be a component substrate supplier and could supply multiple parties with who may submit for the award. Is there anything to prevent us from being able to participate if we are supplying more than one team? Okay. So a single competitor team may submit a maximum of 1 submission. Multiple submissions from the same lead organization will not be accepted. However, a sub-organization, such as a component supplier, may provide products. So we could have, you know, multiple submissions all using the same base component to it, as long as they're just using it as a component. So that's not a problem. Okay, is that the end of them? Or
Yes, that's great.
okay, good. Okay. All right, good. So now we get to some live questions.
Yep, we'd be happy to take live questions. You can, it'd be great if people could raise their hand under the reactions at the bottom, like I'll do right now, like that little hand over here. And we can call on you. Feel free to then come on unmuted. You could also use the chat. Great to see everybody here. I'm going to see a few more people. All right, Mark, please kick us off with your question.
Hi there. I'm sorry, you said the chat. I put my question in the Q&A. One of the submission criteria is estimating market potential. I can imagine the reviewers, if there are 50 submissions, getting 50 different estimates of market potential. And since this contest came about, I'm assuming DOE did some market potential analysis already. If that's the case, should we all submit our own market potential estimates, or should we start with DOE's market potential estimates?
You want me to take it, Rachel?
Yeah.
Or okay, so Mark, a couple reasons. First of all, the market potential is also based on the design and the approach that any particular team or submission is taking, right? So somebody may be targeting different types of market of window segmentation. So it is dependent upon what you're trying to market and sell. Now, it also is good for us to see what teams are thinking and what their rationale is, rather than using a government, perspective. It's good to see what the private sector's perspective is. So it gives us a lot of value in us evaluating your approach and what you're doing. So, you're right, there will be some variation, of course. Even within DOE, there's huge variation between like the emerging technologies team and the commercial team. But generally, we targeted this area because we know it's got a large savings potential. But still, even to this day, we're still trying to segment that market share and what it looks like. And it is complex, but we want your perspective, which is very helpful for us.
Great. Thank you, Mark, for that question. Jackie, are there other questions in the Q&A? Oh,
Yeah, there are,
yes.
Rachel.
All right. I will read those off. What level of detail is needed in the BOM? This is sensitive information. Who will see it?
Rachel, do you want to take the who will see it? How we
Yeah,
protect
our
sensitive information?
expert reviewers are either DOE or national lab staff. So that's information is not going anywhere. They all have to sign an NDA to participate as an expert reviewer. So that will stay within the DOE complex. That's not going to be shared. Do you want to talk a little bit to the detail, Mark, maybe?
Well, no, I mean, so when they say a bill of materials, right? So, obviously there's some sensitivities, but this is, we're not looking for any proprietary process or things like that. I mean, to come up with your estimate, that shouldn't get too proprietary. I'm not going to say it's not business sensitive, but remember that everybody that's a reviewer has to sign an NDA. They have to have a non-conflict of interest, and we get very, very sensitive information, and we have a strong track record of not disclosing that information, and we do a very good job protecting it. Again, the key process trade secrets, those don't necessarily have to be disclosed in the bill of materials, right? So your most sensitive data is really not needed for this. At least that's how we see it.
Great. How do you define high-rise number of stories? Mark or Sam, can you take that?
I can take this one. We're defining high-rise, so the prize is open to anything that's not low-rise residential. We're considering high-rise multifamily. And in this case, it's a large 4 stories or more. So we start pretty low there, but yeah, 4 stories or more is our limit.
Great. Other questions?
Looks like Mohammed has his hand up.
Oh, all right. I love that.
Hi, thank you for setting this up. I just had 2 questions. Number one, it's my understanding that whatever SGS product we're developing, it's an add-on to the existing frame. We're not replacing the glazing component or the framing component in any way. Is that a correct understanding?
Mark?
Yes, that is a correct understanding.
Okay, and reviewing the baseline window D, it's a pretty poor window, as you've alluded to, Mark, with the R.8. This type of retrofit, let's call it, is it interior applied, or is it exteriorly applied, or is that up to the discretion of the design and the best value proposition that we're providing?
Yeah, you said exactly correct. Yeah. So again, we're neutral for the installation technique. There could be a whole variety of installation techniques, interior, exterior. Both have their pros and cons. I mean, exterior has to, withstand wind loads, but doesn't also have the issue of, any kind of interface with the occupant. Interior, basically you're in the space. So there's again, it's up to your design, but the rules have lots of criteria related to operation and maintenance and things like that. So whatever you design, you come up with your design, you need to be able to describe how your design is going to work and how it's going to operate, how it's going to be maintained. And that could be very different from one company's application to another company's application. So again, we want you to come up with your strategy as to how you're going to design, install, operate, maintain, and market this type of solution.
Perfect. And sorry, one more question, if I may. The table 1 lists different SGS products, so static, dynamic, high and low. I'm assuming that the dynamic description is referring to the amount of solar heat gain control. That's what differentiate dynamic from static, correct?
Correct. Yes. And the dynamic is optional, right? So you don't have to have a dynamic if you don't want to have a dynamic, but if you do have a dynamic, we want you to follow that criteria.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Great. Ratnesh?
Yeah, I had a question regarding a couple of points that you mentioned, Mark, novelty and commercialized products. Can you elaborate what is commercialized and what is novelty?
Oh, now you get okay. This is good. Hey, Ratnesh, nice to see you. So first of all, yeah. So this whole entire prize is innovation, right? So we want you to innovate, but just to make it very clear, this isn't to innovate for having a prototype, that sits on the shelf. No, it's like we want you to use innovation so that it leads to commercialization. It has to be able to be mainstream, commercialized, cost effective, market viable. And so another way to categorize these types of projects, this type of opportunity, I should call it, is late stage developmental work, right? We're not really looking at very, very early R&D stage, which we have other opportunities in DOE for that. This is more like later stage innovation with the intent of having market viable, cost effective, high performance product. And so it puts those together. But just to give you a spectrum in the early stage. Oh, I'm getting a little buzz from it. I never do well with Zoom on my platform. It's saying I'm on an unstable platform. So if I have to, I'll shut my video off. But anyway, I'll leave it on for now.
It's okay. Caught up.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you for your question. Other questions? I think we've caught up on the Q&A on hands raised. Please feel free to join in to ask a question, either in the Q&A chat or raise your hand. I'll just go over a FAQ that was in. Oh, can we have a dialogue after submission? Asked David. Do you want to say more, David?
Sure. Earlier, Mark mentioned being able to describe, that we're meeting the rules of the contest, regarding maintenance and operability and such. And, after we submit the design, will there be an opportunity to have a dialogue with, you all to further explain the product if there's any questions, I guess?
At this phase, there isn't. That only occurs in phase 3, as competitors are narrowed down. DOE will have an opportunity to ask questions, for our first, second, and third place winners. So, not at this phase. This is a design concept submission. So I'll answer that one.
Okay.
The only thing, Rachel, just to be clear, is so part of the second and third phase, you will be required to submit some of that criteria to us. So the onus. So when I was talking about what we want you to do, that's for the entire project from the beginning to the end. You have to think about taking it from innovation all the way to commercialization and supporting it. And in the various stages, you're required to submit different things that break up those pieces. So yeah, I just
Got it. Thank you.
And actually, I was mistaken. Phase 2 also includes DOE may decide to interview a subset of competitors.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Great question. Thank you. All right. Other questions? Yes.
One more question I had was regarding the type of windows that you're selecting. And I think the question usually is curtain wall versus, let's say, punched opening or high-rise building, where what happens that if you have a single window and you go and put a secondary glazing, your edge effects or the edge effect of the existing frame is different than where you have back-to-back windows, where you're putting your secondary glazing, and the secondary glazing is also creating a new type of, let's say, framing, and they're connected to each other sometimes. So I believe that it is up to us to decide what type of building we're choosing.
well, so Ratnesh, just to be clear, we know in the real world there's many applications. So you could take the exact same product and install it in 3 or 4 different locations and have different performances for each of those based on what the base condition is, right? So again, going back for the only way that we can do a comparison is using the AERC baseline application, even though we know in the real world it's going to vary significantly, right? But we need to come up with and believe me, the AERC process, which took like 8 years, this was debated extensively of what those base conditions could be. And we know whenever you have one base condition, it's far from ideal, but it's the only way that we can assess all the products on the same playing field. Now, I think this gets to be more of a challenge when we get to phase 3 and people are doing case studies. That's going to have to be something that we have to look at. And we're still looking at the rules for phase 2 and phase 3. So if 2 people in phase 3 have completely different applications, we're going to have to do something there. So that is going to be a little bit of a challenge. But for now, it's very straightforward. You have your design, you use that base condition, and then we look at the performance and we compare the performance based on the design. And it varies significantly from real world applications, just the way it's made. So.
Okay.
Great. We have one more question in the Q&A. Can we get an extension? Sam, you want to take that one?
I wish we could offer an extension, but unfortunately we cannot at this time. There's too many other factors with reviewer schedules and for us to be able to offer an extension, unfortunately.
And I'll add on to that, please get into the HeroX system early and make sure things are loading and working. We will have a hard deadline on June 13th at 5 p.m. Eastern. So.
And just so people know, we know that this is the design phase, but we gave a lot of time. We gave people advance notice. We even started last summer getting people interested in this thing. So we really have had a long time. So frankly, for some of us, we think that the schedule is like even too long, takes a long time. So this has been a long time coming. I'm sure there's many teams that are ready to go, that they've done their hard work, and they're going to make the deadline. So you just need to work 18 and 20 hours a day and get it done. Get it in by the 13th. We want lots of good submissions. We want lots of competition. We want the best that you have to offer in innovation to change the commercial fenestration in America. But you only have until the 13th, and we look forward to getting them in. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mark. All right. Other questions? These are great questions. Would love to have this dialogue. While people think about other questions, I'll just finish out a few announcements. In terms of next steps, please follow the challenge on HeroX. Somehow you got a notification about today's office hours and got here, but if you go to herox.com/envelope prize, at the top, there's a follow button on the right. That is really important to be signed up there. Read the rules, read them over again, read them again before you submit, read them today, read them tomorrow. So read the rules. All the information is there that we've talked about today. You can email us with any questions between now and then, envelope.prize@nrel.gov, and get your submission in. We'd love to see it. And we do want more submissions. We want all your submissions. So June 13th at 5 p.m. Eastern. These slides and presentation will be posted on HeroX in the coming weeks. And there's also on HeroX a link to the FAQ, which I think is really valuable. So please take a moment, kind of read the rules, and then go check out the FAQs. That has some really great information for questions that have been answered to date via that email address. So please take a look at that. Other questions? Let's see here. I don't see any other Q&A. All right. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. Please send us an email with your questions. We appreciate your submission. We're looking forward to them. Have a great day.
So long, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks.